when you are upping your prices, you get into a different category of customer who is so much better than the rest that it's not even an issue for them, right? They're the type of people who don't even look at the car when it's done detailed. They just pay you, leave a tip, and then they call you back in another 3 to 6 months because they're not worried about the value as much. And that seems so backwards to me, and it's been the hardest thing for me to understand. Is I wanted to provide value at $125 for so long, when I realized I can actually provide better value at $250 or $300 because now I can afford to take more time on the cars. I can afford to do a better job, and the customers are going to see and perceive more value because they're not so strapped for cash that it's not as much as an investment as it is for the people who are like $100 details or $80 details. Alrighty, today we're going to talk a little bit about defining your services as a mobile detailer or as a shop detailer. Now, defining your services, what does that actually mean? Well, basically it comes down to two things. You want to know what are you selling and how much are you selling it for. It really just everything boils down to that. What are you going to sell and how much are you going to sell it for? For example, you need to decide if you are going to be selling a mobile detail or a shop detail. If you decide to go to the mobile route, then are you going to focus mostly on the car wash's exterior? Are you going to focus more on the interior? Are you going to have upcharges like engine bays, extracting carpets and seats, pet hair removal, headlight restoration, you name that. And you need to take all this information and write it down. Now, figuring out your pricing is actually a lot easier than it seems, and I would recommend looking around your area to see what people are selling their services for, because it's going to be pretty similar. But at the end of the day, for you in your situation, you're going to work backwards, okay? You need to define how much money do you want to make in a month. So if that is $5,000 every month, then you have about 22 working days in the month, not including Saturdays. In those 22 working days, you need to divide that 5,000 divided by that 22, and that's going to give you your daily rate. I don't actually know what that is off the top of my hand, but it's something close to like $200. Let's just say it's $200. I know I'm wrong. You can tell me in the comments. But $200 a day, how many cars do I need to detail in order to get 200? Well, if you can do 2 cars a day at 100, then you're getting $200. If you can do 1 car a day at 200, then you can get $200. If your pricing is at 150, then you need to do either 1 car on Monday, 2 cars on Tuesday, kind of switch that up, or find something to upsell in order to make that extra $50. Whether that's getting them to do an exterior detail with their interior detail, or selling them on an engine bay detail, on a headlight restoration, or on something that gets you up to that daily rate. And so once you can do that consistently, then you know your pricing is secure. So just work backwards. If you go the opposite way, and you can, then you're not really going to be able to set a goal in terms of monthly revenue. So that's what I would recommend. Just find out how much you want to make in the month and how many days you want to work. Divide the money by the days, and you get how much per day you need to make. And then you just do everything in your power to make that much per day. And it's going to be a lot slower at first, and then it builds up over time. In my business personally, my goal is $800 a day. So that is $350 on the shop side with Brandon working there, and $450 on the mobile side. The mobile is a little bit more expensive, still around market rate, and then the shop side is a little bit cheaper. We have that because there are a lot of people who want a discount, and the only way I can really offer that discount is by having them drive to the shop. And the labor with an employee is just a little bit cheaper. And so you could still make a little bit of a profit margin on that each day if they're able to drop it off, and they get a discounted service that's usually around between $25 and $50. And so for a lot of people, that's worth it. But $800 a day kind of hits my goals for the month. That's around $16,000 a month if we're doing 20 working days. So that is how I do my services. It's finding my services and then set my pricing. And of course, you want to shop around. I would call 10 people and ask them hey, I have a Honda Accord, it's a 2016, I want the inside done and the outside washed and waxed. What is that going to cost, right? Define or ask them for your exact services. If you want to do just interiors, then call 10 people around your area and ask them how much they charge. If everybody in your area is charging $200, then I would set my pricing just a little bit lower than that, because you do need to get experience and you do need to get customers. But that's how you do it. Everybody in business knows this. The higher you set your prices, the better your customers are. So if you have your pricing set at $100, that is extremely cheap in my area. Everyone's around like $180 to $250 for an interior detail. Then you're going to be attracting the kinds of customers that are looking for a $100 detail. And it's going to be the people who haven't detailed their car in a while because it is expensive. And because of that, the cars are going to be kind of gross. Does that make sense? If you up your prices and you get past that bracket into the $250, $300 range, then you attract a different kind of customer where money isn't as much as an issue as time is. They don't have the time to clean their cars and they have the money to detail their cars. If you really think about it, most customers are getting their cars detailed like every 3 to 6 months. Most are. Now, if you're detailing a Tahoe and it's like an $80,000 Tahoe, those monthly payments are going to be like $1,200, and guaranteed it's not their only car either. So these people are already used to paying $2,000 a month just on car payments. A $300 detail every 6 months is not going to break their bank. And if it is, then they can't afford a Tahoe. That's just the truth of it. When your prices are lower, you get so many more people who want to barter with you. And I find that so ridiculous. They'll call you and say like, hey, it's a $100 detail. And then they're like, well, would you do it for $75? And you're like, sir, this is a cheap job. Like, this is a cheap job. I don't know what your expectations are. And then when you get there, the worst thing ever is when you have one of those people who just are over your shoulder, man. I had one guy once, and he was just the whole 3 hours I was there detailing his truck, over my shoulder the entire time, practically breathing down my neck and pointing out things that I was missing or that I hadn't gotten to yet, and just asking me. And so it turned a 3-hour job into a 5-hour job just because he was like, hey, are you gonna get this? I'm like, yep, please just hold on. You got to be patient. This is something, that takes time, and it's a process. I can't clean that until I get to this. So if you want to just kind of take a seat, and then of course he'd be around the other side of the car pointing out this, can you make sure to get in these cup holders here? I'm like, sir, you really, and at the end of those jobs, you feel horrible. Even sometimes, like this one particular guy, he even asked me for a discount at the end of it. I don't remember at the time what I said to him, but I do remember firing him as a customer the next time he called me. And I told him, hey man, like this just isn't working out. I'm not the type of detailer that you're looking for. And so I think you'd be better off with somebody else. And that's basically the way you fire someone, is just saying like, hey, I'm just a bad fit for you. I'm obviously not what you're looking for. So best of luck to you. And then you can recommend some of your buddies. Sometimes they hate you for it, but you can recommend some of your buddies to take on those jobs if they are looking for customers. And then just give them a fair warning so that they can be prepared for it. But yeah, I got a little off topic there. But I love those stories. I think it's really fun. You're going to have all kinds of stories and about customers and different people. I want to share one more about, man, this was my most difficult customer I've ever had in my business. I don't want to be the type of person who rats out a customer because I feel a lot of integrity towards people's privacy, but he was a total flake and a cheap dude. So he had this beautiful Ford F-250 King Ranch, and the thing was just awesome. He calls me at 4:00 in the afternoon and he says, hey, I really need a detail today. And so I give him the price. It was $250. And he says, oh, bro, you gotta hook up a brother. I'm like, dude, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. And you're calling me on a Friday evening at 4:00 wanting a same day detail after hours on a weekend. Like, I should be charging you double. And he says, no, you have to do it for 200. You have to do it for 200. You please do it for 200. One of those guys. And I'm like, I will do it for 200, but I'm not spending more than 3 hours on this whole job. And I'm like, what's the condition like? And he says, it's not that bad. And of course, you know what that means. So I show up to the job, and the thing was just disgusting. I could not breathe from the cigarette smell. And I did spend 3 hours on it, and it wasn't perfect because it definitely needed another 2 hours worth of work, but I would say it was at least 90% there. He was super happy with it. He's told me on the phone, he's like, just do this, and when I got there, before I even started on it, he's like, I need you to take care of this and this and this extra that we hadn't talked about. I just said, I'll see what I can do in the 3 hours. So I get it looking amazing inside and out. And 3 entire full trash bags, 3 literal just trash bags full of personal items he had left in there. Long story short, he told me he'd take care of me. He didn't leave a tip or anything, and I don't expect tips, but he was just kind of like one of those guys you don't really want to work for. So fast forward about 7 months, and he calls me again. And at this time, I was kind of looking for a little bit of work. It was during my slow season. And so I took on the job if he could bring the truck to the shop. And it was the same deal. Please take care of me. Please give me a discount. This time I told him no discounts. And so I have a loaner car over the wintertime while I'm working in the shop. And so I lend that out to people when they drop off their cars so that they can have something to drive around. It makes it a little bit easier for them to get around, and it's just kind of a cool service I provide. And I write off the miles and the gas on my taxes, so it's not a huge expense for me. But he takes my van for the day, and we detail his truck. It takes about 5 hours for the full detail. It was way too long, but the thing was just hammered. And it's looking gorgeous. And so I give him a call and let him know, hey man, like your truck is done. You want to come get it? Because it was right around 5 o'clock that time. And he calls me and he says, oh, I'm at a party. It was his son's birthday party. I'm at a party and I can't come get it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You have my van. Like you can't just not show up. And he's like, I'll come tomorrow. I'm like, no, you can't just take my car, but that's not how that works, right? And he's like, well, you need to drop it off at my house. And at this point, I'm just so annoyed. He lived about 20 minutes away. So I'd have to shut my whole shop down for 40 minutes, close up everything, right? Because I'm the only one there. And at the end of everything, he was just refused to bring my van back to pick up his truck. And so I told him, okay, I'm going to drive the truck to your house. I'm going to charge you extra for the time I have to shut down my shop, right? And that's 40 minutes worth of shop labor, basically. And he's like, well, don't hurt me too much on it. Don't hurt me too much on it. And I was so pissed at this point. But I ended up driving the truck back to go get my van. And granted, this is an $80,000 truck, okay? This is not like a 2006 Ford Ranger with 300,000 miles, okay? This is a beautiful King Ranch F-250, like brand new. And the house I dropped it off at was not a rundown house. So the man has money. And I get there and I pull out my card reader so that he can pay. And then I tell him the price, which we had agreed on earlier. And he tells me like, oh, there's no way. He's like, there's no way it can be that much. I'm like, dude, this is like, you don't even know what we've been through here. This is cheap. Like I should be charging $100 more than this. And he's like, can you give me a discount? I'm like, dude, there is no way on this planet I can give you a discount. I'm already giving you a discount. And I shut down my whole shop for you. And at this point, I'm just livid, right? And I'm a nice guy, so I'm never going to get super confrontational. And then he tells me, he has a nerve to tell me, show me one bank account balance or whatever, or in his Venmo or Square account or whatever. It was like $30 or $40 less than we agreed on. And he says, this is all I have. I'm like, what? He's like, this is all I have. This is all I can do. And I tell the guy, I'm just like, that is all the money to your name. You can't afford this truck. And I just remember looking at him like, you are crazy, dude. And he's like, well, this is all I have. And at the end of the night, I'm just like, just pay me that, and I'm gonna call it. And he's like, and then he says, well, next time I got you. I'll take care of you next time. I said, there's not gonna be a next time. And I haven't heard from him since. If he ever finds this, then I just want you to know, don't be like that, man. You're not gonna have any friends. You're gonna be that cheap. Like, you got Gucci bags and crap in your truck, but you can't pay people who are working hard for you on a really reasonable price for a solid work. Just don't do that. You're not gonna have any friends. Anyway, that's just a crazy story there. So we were talking about defining services and and determining your pricing. Well, you got to make sure just whatever works for you. To work out how much money you need, and then how many work days you have, and then divide the money you need by the number of days or cars you have, and that's how much you need to charge to keep your business alive. If you charge too much, it's going to be harder to get leads. If you charge too little, then you're not going to be paying your bills. So the higher you charge, the better, but you need to work up to that. And working up to that just means getting a lot of customer referrals and a lot of recurring revenue, building your brand name so people can see it. And man, we're going to talk more about that, but I'm already running over time. So this is episode number 3 of my podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I sure am. It's kind of fun. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.